วัสดีครับเพื่อนๆนักลงทุนท่านครับขอต้อนรับเข้าสู่รายการ Business Tomorrow Live นะครับเอพิโซดวันนี้นะครับถือว่าพิเศษสุดๆนะครับเพราะว่าวันนี้ผมจะได้ผู้เชี่ยวชาญนะครับจากตลาดเกาหลีตัวจริงนะครับที่ชื่อว่าคุณโบราคิมนะครับจากทาง Leverage Share นะครับที่จะมาแชร์มุมมองของตลาดเกาหลีนะครับในช่วงนี้ที่เรียกว่าร้อนแรงสุดๆนะครับหลายคนที่ไม่ได้ติดตามตลาดเกาหลีเนี่ยอาจจะทราบแล้วว่าหุ้นเทคตอนนี้ครับร้อนแรงมากนะครับเราเห็นตลาดดัชนี NASDAQ เนี่ยทำ all time high เรื่อยๆเลยใช่ไหมครับ ในปีนี้นะครับแต่ว่าตลาดหุ้นที่ร้อนแรงที่สุดตอนนี้นะครับจริงๆแล้วเนี่ยคือตลาดเกาหลีนะครับคือถ้าให้ดูเนี่ยเราจะเห็นว่าตลาดเกาหลีเนี่ย1ปีที่ผ่านมานะครับพุ่งขึ้น 200% นะครับเห็นไหมครับถ้าใครที่เรียกได้ว่าลงทุนตอนนี้แต่ว่าไม่มีดัชนีเกาหลีเนี่ยเรียกได้ว่าตกรถได้เลยนะครับตอนนี้เพราะว่าดัชนีเกาหลีเนี่ยเรียกว่าเป็นดัชนีร้อนแรงสุดในโลกนะครับแม้แต่ดัชนีไต้หวันที่เราได้เห็นได้ว่า TSMC เนี่ยขึ้นมาแรงๆนะครับยังเรียกได้ว่าแพ้ดัชนีเกาหลีนี่ขาดลอยนะครับ1ปีที่ผ่านมาเนี่ยไต้หวันขึ้นมาประมาณ 50% นะครับแต่ว่าเกาหลีเนี่ยขึ้นมาโอ้โหเกือบ 200% นะครับมันเกิดอะไรขึ้นนะครับเรามาดูต่อมา Samsung ครับท่านผู้ฟังครับ Samsung เนี่ยเป็นสต็อกที่ตอนนี้ลีดเกาหลีเลยนะครับขึ้นมาเป็น join 1 trillion club นะครับล่าสุดในปีนี้แล้วนะครับเพราะว่า AI demand นะครับทำไมหุ้นเกาหลีเนี่ยมันถึงขึ้นแรงอย่างนี้ทำไม Samsung นะครับบริษัทเกาหลีในเอเชียเนี่ยถึงสามารถปีนเข้าไปเป็น1 trillion club ดอลลาร์กับบริษัทนี่ครับถ้าเทียมกับบริษัทอย่าง Nvidia Apple Google Microsoft Amazon นะครับหรือว่า Meta Tesla เหล่านี้ได้นะครับอะไรคือเบื้องหลังความสำเร็จแล้วก็ในอนาคตหุ้นเกาหลีเนี่ยจะยังเติบโตต่อเนื่องหรือไม่จะกลายเข้ามาอยู่ในเป็นหนึ่งใน Magnificent Seven ได้หรือเปล่านะครับอันนี้มาดูกันและไม่ใช่แค่นั้นนะครับไม่ใช่แค่หุ้น Samsung อย่างเดียวที่ขึ้นมาอย่างรวดเร็วแล้วก็แรงนะครับเราไปดูอีกตัวหนึ่งคือ SK Hynix นะครับอีกหนึ่งหุ้นชิปอีกหนึ่งตัวในเกาหลีนะครับซึ่งเขาผลิตนะครับตัวชิปที่เรียกว่า HBM นะครับหรือว่า High Bandwidth Memory Chip ตัวนี้นะครับซึ่งโอ้โหเป็นที่ต้องการมากสำหรับ Data Center ในตอนนี้ทำให้หุ้นของ SK Hynix นี่นะครับในช่วง1 ปีที่ผ่านมาก็พุ่งไม่แพ้ Samsung นะครับขึ้นมาที่ประมาณ 700-800% ในปีที่ผ่านมาเรียกได้ว่าถ้าใครไม่มีหุ้น2ตัวนี้นะครับโอ้โหเทียบว่าเกือบจะตกรถเลยนะครับในปีที่ผ่านมาทำให้ตอนนี้นะครับสัดส่วนของ KOSPI Index ที่ตอนนี้ขึ้นมาประมาณ 7,800 จุดแล้วเนี่ยนะครับท็อปโฮลดิ้งของเขาเนี่ยมีอยู่2ตัวเลยคือ Samsung กับ SK Hynix นะครับ2ตัวนี้ตอนนี้ account ประมาณเกือบ 50% ของดัชนี KOSPI แล้วนะครับเรียกได้ว่าเป็นโอกาสในการลงทุนที่หายากมากครับตอนนี้นะครับแล้วก็โมเมนตัมนี้จะยังเป็นอย่างนี้ต่อไปหรือเปล่านะครับเดี๋ยวเราลองมาพูดคุยกันนะครับกับคุณโบราคิมนะครับที่ทาง Leverage Share วันนี้ให้มาคุยกับพวกเรานะครับก็ใครที่เข้ามาแล้วนะครับฝากกดไลค์กดแชร์นะครับอย่าลืมกด subscribe ด้วยนะครับ Alright, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is a very special show because we have an expert from Leverage Shares who's going to talk about the Korean market for us as I have introduced to you guys. So let's not waste any time and welcome Miss Bora Kim to the show, please.
Thank you.
Hello,
For
Bora.
having me, Chris.
Thank you.
Hi, Chris.
And good morning. Thanks for joining us since early morning from Chicago.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for coming on the show. So I've just introduced the followers about the current Korean market situation. How if anyone did not have Korean stocks or Korean index in their portfolio, they're missing out big time in the past 1 year. Can you take us through like what happened? How come Korean stock market that is, I would say somewhat, it's not really the focus on investor radar in the past year, have done so well in the past year? It's rise more than 200% in total.
Right.
Bora.
Okay. So in 2025, the KOSPI rose 75.6%, and alongside the market cap and then daily trading volume that expanded significantly. And later than this year, from the beginning of this year, KOSPI already rose about 70-80% so far. So it has indeed a great leap so far. Well, so we all maybe a lot of people think that this is just a price rally, but it was more about the broad change in the how global investors perceive the Korean market, in my view. So for a long time, Korea was discussed like mainly through the lens of Korea discount, the low valuations, governance concerns, and limited shareholder returns.
Mm.
Over the past year, that narrative has changed. So Korea has become one of the most cleanest exposure to the AI memory cycle right now.
Mm.
So when we talk about the KOSPI moving toward, well, it's over 7,800 right now. I would not describe it as simply as a multiple, expansion. Samsung Electronics reported the first quarter 2026 revenue and operating profit like both record levels. And SK Hynix reported 72% of operating margin, which clearly shows that the strong super cycle that no one expected before. So these are
Mm.
not just ordinary cyclic numbers, they reflect a very tight supply demand environment in HBM and the conventional DRAM and also AI related to memory products. So these are the basic briefing for that. But at the same time, the rally has not just been driven by the semiconductors alone. One of the underappreciated local factors has been the change in the domestic liquidity. The government introduction of the RIA, which is the Reshoring Investment Account, together with the tax incentive for overseas stock investments coming back to domestic market and tighter marketing restriction around the overseas products. So this
Mm.
kind of the government strategy was also applied over there. But these two factors have created a clear incentive for the part of Korean retail investors, overseas capital to return to domestic assets.
Mm.
That matters because Korean retail investors have been very active in U.S. equities in recent years. So as some of those investors began to recycle gains from the U.S. technology and stocks into Samsung Electronics, SK Hynix, domestic index ETFs, it added another layer of the demand to the market. Besides, institutional investors also started to revisit Korean equities, helped by the improving corporate governance and stronger
Mm.
shareholder return policies by governments and broader value up agenda. Also, it's the leading by government. So my view is that this rally has been supported by four forces at the same time: semiconductor earnings upgrades, also returning domestic retail liquidity,
Mm.
renewed institutional interest, and also the value reappraisal linked to the governance reform. So that is why the move has been so powerful,
Mm.
not just about the stock itself. But in the other sense, I would like to be more careful because Korea's index has become highly concentrated. You can
Mm.
see the Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix together have been reported near at like more than 40% of the KOSPI market capitalization. So
Mm.
buying Korea today is not just simply about the diversified national equity market. It is more likely buying a very concentrated AI memory cycle supported by policy-driven liquidity and also domestic re-rating momentum. Well, so because of that, um, these factors make the rally fundamentally more credible, but
Mm.
also more sensitive to disappointment. The market can continue to move higher if HBM demand stay tight into 2027. If Samsung continues to improve its position in the high-end HBM, and if SK Hynix maintains its leadership, but if earning revisions slow, maybe the retailing flow become like more volatile or leverage in one directional, so both I can rise very quickly out of these situations.
Mm.
So
Thank you, Bora.
So
So
yeah.
it's four forces together right at the same time that's bringing Korean market to a record high right now, as you mentioned. So a lot of Thai investors are quite new to Korean market, and right now, if they're looking to get in, they might be scared because last night, after the CPI news come out, and looks like
Mhm.
inflation is running quite high, the
Right.
highest in 3 years right now, and we see the tech market in US sell off. I think Nasdaq was down around 1.5 to 2%, but the KOSPI index was hit harder. It was down almost 5% in one day, and
Mhm.
then again rallied back today, 5% back to 7,800. Like nothing happened yesterday. So you can see this very very volatile market in Korea right now. So what's your thought on this, and any recommendation to Thai investor who's looking to get in? Will they have to be able to bear this volatility going forward all the time?
Well, that's a good question. So, I like to go for, well, the nature of a Korean market.
Mm.
So, well, we call it Ent. So, like Western Ent, and Ent means the retail investors in South Korea. So these Korean retail investors are very becoming a meaningful global market force so far, especially for the leveraged ETFs. So that's basically not the traditional way. They're not controlling the price of the stock itself, but they're more, becoming more important in leveraged products and short-term momentum. So for example, before talking about the Korean market itself, we can just go through the how they have invested for the Tesla 2x, Tesla 3x so far. So these Korean retail investors who buy the overseas stocks, especially for US stocks, their scale has grown very quickly. Like the and then last year, Korean investor bought more of 2x Tesla ETF than Tesla stock itself. So this is a kind of key. The Korean retail investors are not just buying the stocks for the long-term exposure, they're actively using leveraged products to express high conviction views on the names like a Tesla, Nvidia, and then even the AI-related stocks, which have a pretty high volatility. So this is the same case for the Korean market. Even when we just see the Tesla, like for the Tesla 3X is very clearly the example for that. So Korean investors have been loyal to Tesla for years, and then they buy the stock, they buy the dips, and leverage shares like Tesla 3X ETP has been very popular among the Korean investor. It has ranked as the most traded ETP in the London Stock Exchange for 3 consecutive years because of Korean investor. So with this type of people, like when they get back to Korean market, well, we easily can expect that they will move so quickly about the volatility. So if the price goes down, they're sensitive to the price and sensitive to the disappointment of the market. So basically, they're moving so fast. And then one thing that you should be careful about the Korean market is the only thing probably I can deliver you the fastest news about that. So Korea Exchange is going to make a new movement. The domestic single stock 2x leveraged ETFs will be launched soon on 22nd of May. So basically, we can expect the Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix 2x and the Korea exchange market. And currently, 8 domestic ETF issuers are waiting for that, and then 2 more inverses are expected to be launched. So these products could increase the trading activity and also short-term volatility about these stocks because leveraged ETFs require daily rebalancing. So we expect that around the 27th. So this is tentative date, but 27th around that, we may expect more, even higher volatility right now. So if you are, if you think that volatility is not your thing, then probably you can think about the other thematic or the other the semiconductor value chain or the AI value chain goes as less volatile than that. So I can say for the Korean market, KOSPI, SK Hynix, and then Samsung Electronics, the volatility will come even higher.
Wow. So just to explain to the Thai investor, looks like the Korean market volatility may only get started because as Bora share, there will be more single stock leverage ETF, especially Samsung and SK Hynix are coming, right? Starting next week, or when was it that you mentioned? When is it coming?
27th of May is tentative date.
End of this month. So as Bora said, as a warning to as well, whoever is not used to the volatility has to be careful and plan well if you're going to enter the Korean market, because Korean retail investors are all prepared. They are experienced. They have done this over with the US stock, as Bora mentioned, and now moving to Korean stock, which is the hot market. Now I would like to jump to another question when you mentioned that, because there's a big news in Thailand that the reason why the Korean retail investor are so sophisticated, and now you have a variety of products coming out, like you mentioned. The reason is because the Korean president, Mr. Lee Jae-myung, he's an ex-trader. He used to like day trade. Is that the truth or is that a myth? That's the reason. Yeah.
Well, we all know that. Well, he also allegedly say that he is
Mm,
also investing the stocks. He's investing on the domestic stocks instead of real estate because for
mm,
Korea market as so far is more focused on the real estate market,
mm,
but the this President Lee wants to change the phase about that. So he started to talk more about the domestic stocks and even like sold his own house as well to show that
wow.
like he can really boost the Korean domestic market. And that's how he started to make all the government initiatives about the domestic stocks. So he
Mm,
really made some movement out of it by himself as well.
mm.
And probably he is enjoying the great return out of the Korean stocks as well.
Yeah, that's great. So he's a factor behind the four forces you mentioned earlier. That's how he made it happen easier, right? Maybe
Yeah,
he's
he's
a
like
yeah.
aligning his or like the portfolio goal and then also for the
Mm,
government goal as well. So
okay.
well it's pretty much surprising for me because before him it was always about the Korea discount. So we have the like
Mm,
even Samsung and then SK Hynix. We all
mm,
know that these are good stocks, but actually they
mm,
didn't have a lot of chances to go up. But with
mm,
this kind of government like the initiatives, it has a lot
mm.
of power right now.
Thank you, Bora, for sharing with us. Very interesting market. Now, let's go back to chips a little bit because people are wondering right now that the hot sector, like you mentioned, the HBM, high bandwidth memory chips, how much upside? I know it raised a lot and the earning has been growing, as you mentioned, but going forward, how much upside do you see for Samsung and SK Hynix? And at this point, when do you advise investor to start to take profit, or should they keep chasing the momentum right now, or any advice?
Well, yeah, as you mentioned, the HBM, or LSBM is the
Mm,
key, and it's the first memory product in years, and it has given currency maker strategic pricing power.
mm,
And that is why the upside is real right now. But
mm,
also, this is also why investors need to be disciplined about when to take profits.
mm,
So the supply demand setup is still very tight. All the, the DRAM average selling prices to rise about 125% year over year in 2026. And also these elevated prices are unlikely to ease quickly. So like until late 2027, we don't see any meaningful relief around that. So
mm,
with this kind of the trends, also trend force expected the SK Hynix to remain the leader in the HBM, and then while the Samsung is recovering and Micron is expanding. So we all see that the rosy future about that.
mm,
For SK Hynix, the upside has been clear earlier because the company established the leadership in HBM supply to AI accelerator customers.
mm,
And its first quarter 2026 number shows how powerful that the mix shift can be. And
mm,
Samsung is moving more aggressively into HBM4 and SOCAM2 for the next generation AI platforms. So fundamentally, I think there is a lot of upside for the both Samsung and SK Hynix. And CT even recently raised its target price very aggressively, citing
mm,
continued memory price strength in the second half of the year. So according to local reports in Korea, Citi raised the Samsung Electronics to around 460,000 Korean won and SK Hynix to 3.1 million Korean won. These are the target price right now.
mm. Okay, so with those target price in mind for those stocks, what does that take us for the KOSPI index for the year end then? Would that be over 10,000 or higher in your view?
Okay, so before going to the interview, maybe I can add some little more details for understanding this landscape better.
Sure,
So
please. Yeah.
yes. So, well, when we think about the market, well, as a local Korean, the market now focus not only just revenue growth, but it's more about the how much that pricing power actually flows through
Mm,
the shareholders. So in Samsung's case, currently what happened in Korea is the labor union issue is becoming a variable. So if the union demands for the performance bonuses equivalent to like 15% of operating profit, if it's realized, the local estimates suggest the Samsung labor cost burden could rise meaningfully. So based on the simple just annualization, operating margin could move down from the first quarter level like 42.8% to 30%-ish, like mid of 30. So for SK Hynix, the issue is also slightly different but still relevant. So this matters because investors often look at Samsung and SK Hynix, say they are still cheap versus global peers. But after adjusting for these potential labor cost increases and broader cost inflation, the value gap is not as wide as it first appears. Some local estimates put Samsung 2026 forward price to earning ratio is like 10.7. SK Hynix like 13.1 after labor cost adjustment. You cannot feel the number, so I'll just bring the micron. So micron by comparison is around 13.7. So it's like it's not that different from the SK Hynix. So I can say that Korea is still attractive, but not that deeply discounted if potential labor cost increases applies. So I can say this is kind of the hidden factor right now that the local has been seen. And my base view about the Samsung and SK Hynix is, well, still has earning upside, as I mentioned that, through 2026 and probably into 2027. But I would become more cautious if management teams started talking more about the capacity expansion than just pricing discipline. Or
Okay.
just labor cost pressure begin to absorb too much of the profit upside. That could be still another cautious point. So the takeaway is more about that, not sell the memory trade, but takeaway is more about the stop treating it like a simple shortest trade. So Korea, it's just Korean stock, so you're going to see volatility at any moment.
That is a sure point. So you would say that is the biggest risk to Samsung or SK Hynix is if the they start focusing more on expansion only if they start talking about expansion, or is there any other risk that you see? Because I see a lot of upside, like you mentioned, everything seems to be going well. But what are some risks that other risks that investors should be aware of?
Well, so here, the one of the greatest possible mistake could be not seeing other value chain.
I see.
So when we just focus on the obvious names like Tesla, Nvidia, or any other AI stocks or Samsung, well, that's not what we want. We need a return. We need a performance. So I assume that we should go for look into another the value chain. So I'm going to cover it well a little bit later about that to just give you more idea about how to think about whole the value chain or what can be
Okay.
else the next money inflow after SK Hynix or after Samsung. Well, if HBM just goes up and if the other semiconductor goes up, what else could be the next bottleneck? That could be a great question, and I'd like to share more about that a couple of minutes later because I'd like to give all of you to think about more in that kind of the perspective.
Okay, we would definitely like to hear about that. So maybe you can show us the overview or explain a little bit about the supply chain, and then maybe you can take us to your thought on where will be the next major move in the semiconductor value chain that, as you mentioned, because the investor, some people might feel like they already missed the train on the chips, the high HBM and all. And then, as you mentioned, maybe where's next move, where's next sector that they should be. So please enlighten us, Bora. Please.
Yeah. I think it's when you feel FOMO for some stocks or for specific themes. I think that's the best chance to look at the other theme that you haven't really seen. So, well, when I just think about the leading indicator for the semiconductor stocks or any stocks, then when I just think about all these AI stocks, maybe the leading indicator could be the next major movement about semiconductor stocks. So it's not just about the chip maker themselves. I will look all the value chain around them. So more specifically, I would like to watch optical networking, for example. So
Okay.
especially like fiber and the high-speed connectivity. Well, AI infrastructure is not just about GPU, HBM. Optical networking is becoming the nerve system for this AI infrastructure. So we need brain, but at the same time, we need the nervous system
I
to
see.
execute, to make it happen. So every GPU cluster need to move the data at extremely high speed. And as AI model scale, inter-server and inter-data center traffic is starting to overwhelm the electrical connections. So they're looking into the fiber. Fiber is become kind of the answer right now, and the demand curve has become almost vertical right now. So let's see Corning, which is the US stock, is a very good example. So market reports that suggest their new fiber, HG 65782 fiber, prices are up more than 650% year over year. And Corning also secured a multi-year agreement with the Meta, worth up to 6 billions, and its 2028 revenue target has reportedly been raised from the 8 billion to 11 billions. So we can also see this in the market reaction as well. After NVIDIA announced the major investment and partnership with the Corning to expand the US optical connectivity manufacturing capacity, Corning's share price rose sharply. So over the past week, the stock was up more than 20%. And for the leverage shares Corning 2X ETFs, it increased by about 45% over the last 5 days. So this is exactly the kind of the signal I would watch, not just about Samsung, SK Hynix, NVIDIA, TSMC. They're already the obvious names. We all know that. The more useful indicator is where the captor starts moving and where after the semiconductor value chain. And when one of the another great factor that you can also look into is like institutional ownership. So when we see the earning, one of the reasons that I saw the Corning is has institution dominated shareholder base, like with Vanguard, BlackRock. They are the among the largest holders. So when stock moves strongly, it's not just about retail speculation. You should see the how the institutional ownership moves for that stocks, and it can reflect institutional capture repositioning toward the next AI infrastructure bottleneck.
Thank you, Bora. Any other stocks that we should be watching along those valuation? Like I said, apart from optics, the nerve, the Corning that you mentioned, any other company along those lines?
Well, I just personally look into Corning, and also I just look into the copper. So copper mining ETFs is one of the things that I'm looking to right now, because definitely you need all the when we just need all the chains for the electricity, it needs copper. And then copper demand is growing right now, but it takes more time to provide a supply for the copper mining. So I believe that copper could be something that you can look into right now. Well, it has a high volatility. Sorry for that. I'm more into the volatility. So you can look into
Copper
that.
price is going up faster than gold right now because it has AI use case, like you mentioned, right? Backing its price.
Exactly.
So for investor to look into it, you think it's interesting. You think more of like in copper price like futures, like ETF, or you mean like copper's mining stocks? It's the sector that could be interesting.
Well, it's up to the investors' capacity to dealing with the volatility. So, for example, if I believe for the for the professional like you, probably you can deal with the volatility, and we all know that like how long I should take it. If it's the option trading, we all know that this is about the volatility, but it's going to be expired if the time just passes. So for the people who just started the trading or who just go for more conviction about the copper, I would rather go for the like DIMS copper miner ETFs. So you can just
Okay.
diversify your portfolio more and you can handle the less beta about that. But if you are a professional investor and if you enjoy volatility, if you know how to make your own strategy about the stop loss and then about the like when to sell. So if you can set up this kind of points based on your own strategy, I think derivatives are probably good tools to enlarge your exposure.
That's a good idea. And on the copper, one more note is it could be a good investing cycle, but at the same time, would you say that is that a hedge against any AI disruption or in the bubble or something happen there? Or will, if anything wrong happen to AI stock, will copper stocks mining will also go down as well? Can you look at it
Yeah.
as a hedge, or is it one way, or is it correlated at the moment?
I think it's correlated at this moment. So we clearly saw the correlation when the Iranian war happened. So when the Strait of Hormuz is closed and there's any energy issue about that, we also saw that Korean market dropped so quickly, and then copper also drops, and then also, well, all the tech stock drops about that. So with this kind of AI bubble, AI landscape is clearly correlated with the copper stock right now. So this is not about hedge. If you want to go for a hedge, then I would rather see uranium,
Okay.
because when there was movement for the Hormuz of Strait energy crisis, the uranium didn't move like
I see.
oil. Like oil, and then for the other, like even for the gold is like going a little bit have the volatility, but uranium, no one cared about that. It's like it's almost didn't move, and that's, I believe that was overlooked actually, because when we think about all the energy line, well, for the AI energy center, there are two energies then you can utilize it. The first one is about gas, and the second one is about the nuclear power, because AI has a lot of peak energy out of it. And then when AI started to calculate and AI started to make a logic out of it, it takes a lot of energy. And that's why we are building a lot of AI data center to not to disconnect at any moment. And then for that, we need more reliable energy, more like the energy can have a high power for some peaks. And for that, the coal basically cannot do that very well. And then the renewable energy is still a little bit more way to go. But if we just think about the fastest way to make it happen is uranium and also gas. So I believe the uranium could be very necessary for the AI energy source, but at the same time, you can take a look at all the stocks and they're like uh, uranium. This is like the Uranium Energy Corporate, which has the value chain of the U.S. government about the uranium, and also you can look into the other the DMC ETF, the nuclear and also uranium ETFs in case that you don't want to deal with a higher volatility.
That's a great advice on uranium, and also what was the other one? Uranium, the second one?
Yeah, uranium energy corporate,
Nuclear.
and yeah, and then also the other one is like uranium, and also the nuclear ETF.
Okay, so we'll have the team note down on the bottom on these two themes on the uranium and nuclear theme. So now that we're moving on along the value chain, and you mentioned that a lot of energy will be needed. A lot of Thai investors also invest in battery sector or renewable. Well, what about these two themes? in your opinion, would that be benefiting from AI or not as much as uranium and nuclear, in your opinion?
Well, the reason I mentioned uranium is not just about the stock itself, but it's about because we can clearly see the trend and then clearly see the direction that AI is underneath it. But at the same time, uranium is also one of the hot topics in Europe as well. So, for example, after we had a conflict in Iran, the NATO, for example, started to mention more about the uranium and then more about the nuclear power. Like France, for example, they started to talk about the maybe we should consider about getting the nuclear umbrella again for our products and for our NATO. So like if this kind of discussion about the nuclear power is getting intense, I think this uranium will be have good positive performance out of it. So it's more about the considering a downturn, but at the same time, it has a clear direction for the upside. So that's why I mentioned uranium. But for the battery side, I think it's also kind of the more volatile because it's related to AI and also related to other, robotics and then the other more volatile topics. So I just wanted to make a little bit distinction out of the other stocks.
Thank you for being clear. And I like how you mentioned at first that you said no one is caring about uranium right now and the price has been stable. So that seems to be a good opportunity. That means we're still early if what you mentioned is playing out, as you said. So it seems like an opportunity. Definitely we'll do some more research and homework on that for Thai investor. Maybe I go to the other stocks and sector, but I want to stay within Korea because I asked you about battery and I looked over in the KOSPI index. Despite Samsung and SK Hynix making about half the index, the 4 stocks on the index is actually, I believe, is LG Energy. So is LG Energy rise, to be number 4? Is that because of their battery, or is it what sort of business that energy business that LG is doing make it become number 4?
Well, currently LG has a lot of for Korea when we see the Korea market, well, just before going for the LG, I just like to tap into how the Korean market index works, so you
Please.
can understand better for that. Well, when we think about the Korean market in general, we can see the KOSPI and then KOSDA. So like there's a kind of misconception about that because a lot of investors or portfolio manager, they think that, oh, maybe some Korean market is increasing right now, so it's rising, maybe I can just go for finding some cheap stocks and then let's get in more about that. Even for like LG, we can see a lot of LG other businesses out of it, so maybe we can just choose one of them and then go for it. Well, but when we just checked all the financial statements, but there are some chip stock with some reasons. So like weak growth and the poor capital discipline and low dividend payout. Well, I'm not talking about LG, the specific stock that you mentioned, but like in general about the Korean market. So this kind of low price to book ratio is not just enough for explain that. The one thing that you should know about that is for the Korean market, the difference between the large cap and the small cap. So then you can see why in the top 5, only you can see the big names about that. So let's see the data. While the KOSPI, the Korean stock market index with a mainly large cap, has risen roughly 70 to 80% from the beginning of this year. However, the KOSDAQ, the small cap stocks with the growth stocks, has risen only around 20 to 30%.
I see.
Some investors may look at this co-stock, maybe it's like has more catch-up potential later. But, well, only for some selected areas. For maybe it's true, but I'll be careful with that argument. So an index does not rise just because of it has lagged, but companies that are not cheap, that are cheap because maybe they're there because of some reasons. So we should see this kind of the big corporates have there a lot of value chain in South Korea and in Asia, and they're all connected. But for when we just want to see all of these kind of the other stocks, maybe you will miss a lot of parts. So that's what well, it's a little bit of different story, but I just wanted to share, thinking about the big corporates in South Korea has a lot more powerful than you expected. As you have seen that KOSPI and KOSDAQ has totally different number for the purpose.
Thank you. I see. That's a good point. We're trying to bring up the chart for the investor to see so that they understand what you're saying. So you're saying that this is a misconception that KOSDAQ. Sorry, 1 second. This is the index that you mentioned. Okay, so it's been relatively flat, and that's why Bora mentioned to us that the power. It not in Korean market before you enter, you must study the components well before you go and invest, and you don't believe that KOSDAQ is gonna rise following just because KOSPI has gone up, because the major power or the earning are in the big stock, right? Like you mentioned, the big company. So that's why KOSDAQ is lagging. So in your opinion, you're saying that is it because KOSDAQ has no AI or no tech stock within this pretty much, right? Is that why?
Well, they have a lot of good stocks as well, a lot of good corporates as well. But the problem is the KOSDAQ, well, that's mainly small cap stocks. So it's like if we see the whole filter about that, the KOSDAQ is not filtering all the promising small cap stocks. So it also includes some part of like some stocks with low earning qualities and lower ROE, or maybe some governance issue. These kind of stocks are mixed with the KOSDAQ currently. So one of the Korean governments wants to do right now is improving this kind of governance for the KOSDAQ, and then try to filtering these the bad stocks out of it. So before it's finished, this is completed, the KOSDAQ companies will still get the pressure out of it, and they still get the pressure to increase their earning qualities and then multiples out of it. But at the same time, we still have these companies in the KOSDAQ. So that's the why I just want to be careful about that.
Thank you. I'm leveling up as we speak right now on Korean market. Thank you for teaching us all this. So what are the others misconception about Korean market that global investor or Thai investor should know? Then any other things before we enter the market?
Well, then I can cover the geopolitical risk as well.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Okay. Let's sure. Geopolitical risk in terms of Korea geopolitical risk itself, or you mean between US and China, and then the import-export restriction, or what sort of geopolitical risk you want to discuss?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like Korea is literally in the middle of the China and the US and the Taiwan, so it's all connected. So what you may miss about the Korean market, like Korea is highly dependent on the import and export, all the trading. So because of that, you should think about the geopolitical risks before jumping into the Korean market. So the biggest geopolitical risk for the Korean market is not just about a single event. It's about the combination of China, Taiwan, and then US semiconductor policy. And then in most cases, they are hitting the market at the same time. Mm-hmm. And then, so just think about the China still matters to Korea because Samsung and SK Hynix both have meaningful production exposure in China. So if US export restriction on China become tighter, then it can directly affect the Korean chip makers' ability to upgrade the equipment or maintain the competitiveness for those facilities. And when just think about the Taiwan matters as well because Korea is not completely independent in the AI semiconductor supply chain. Korean companies are very strong in memory, especially HBM, but HBM still needs to be connected with advanced logic chips, GPUs, advanced packaging capacity. Much of that ecosystem still depends on Taiwan, especially TSMC. So a Taiwan disruption would not just simply benefit Korea. It could damage the AI supply chain as well, including the demand for the Korean HBM. And another thing is about the US policy matters because Korean semiconductors sit between the Washington and Beijing. So the US wants to limit the China's access to advanced semiconductor technology. But if Samsung and SK Hynix still want to do that, then it's going to be a small problem for that. So in 2025, back in the past, the US removed the certain China-based Samsung and SK Hynix facilities. And later, reports said that both companies received annual approval for the 2026 equipment shipments. So this kind of the US policy can reduce, this kind of US policy or negotiation can deal with the near-term risks, but also show that Korean chip makers remain exposed to policy decisions outside of Korea.
Please. Okay. Let's get Boris. Yeah, so thank you for sharing. I'm looking up on some information right now, and it seems that both SK Hynix and Samsung are expanding, the chips capacity to US a lot.
Yes.
Does that lessen, these policy risk going forward in the long term? Is it lessen the risk, or how does that, or is that how would it affect the stock with these expansion going forward?
Yeah. So, the semiconductor is one of the main factors in terms of AI business and then in terms of the industry growth. So because of that, US is more opening the doors for the SK Hynix and Samsung. And then we can just see that in the Intel's case as well. We all thought that Intel is probably like going to go the downturn about that, but this year we saw amazing performance of
Very.
Intel. So like that, we can see that definitely the US government clearly see this semiconductor business is the main key for their next industry growth. So for this kind of moving the semiconductor facilities to the US back and then having more allies to build their semiconductor facilities in the US, I think that's a kind of very natural thing to happen.
Thank you. So maybe while we're on this topic, tonight Trump is flying to Beijing and meeting with Xi Jinping tomorrow. I just see the breaking news that he's arriving right now in Beijing. So in a very short term, how do you think this meeting will affect, the Korean market and the semiconductor AI sector? In your opinion, what we will see out from it? Will this be a bullish or a risk factor or risk?
Personally, if I were the investor waiting for the Korean market, I will probably have a lot of dry powder for option trading.
I see. So anything can
Because
happen in your opinion.
yeah, I think like this is a kind of the case of Iran war. So when there was Iran war for the Korean market, it has at least three consecutive the days of sidecar. So sidecar in the Korean market is more about if it moves the KOSPI moves so fast, then you're going to just a hot trading for the bots. So means there are a lot of volatility up to what Trump said. And for this case, if Trump and the President Trump and the she also meet over there, I can see there should be a lot of statements daily basis, and I believe that could be the greatest chance for enjoying the volatility for the market.
Thank you. And I'm actually surprised how you mentioned Korean investors are already experienced with this and they know this playbook, right? Korean investors are quite sophisticated and they're ready to have dry powder. Okay.
Yeah, because for for Korea market has some history about that. So in 2010, Korea has historically has one of the biggest the derivatives market for Korean market, and even currently Korea a lot of Korean derivatives also sometimes we call it as a vector dog. So a lot of the derivatives are affect the Korean market stock like Korea spot KOSPI prices. So we can definitely see that Korea has really historically has had the option trading, derivative trading for the investors. And even when I just see the 2026 landscape about that, it's well in 2010 it's mainly it was about the institutional investor. But in 2026, not about the institutional investor, not about the foreigners. There are a lot of retails for the derivatives market as well. So we can see over the 2 decades with all the crypto trading, all the derivative trading, people have like stacked their own knowledge about that. And then I think that's one of the why the Korean market has been very volatile with these people.
Thank you. As we can see in the market right now, with the price moving fast and volatile. So any other sector you would like to share your knowledge about, Bora, before maybe I'm wrapping up with the KOSPI index? Any other sectors in the value chain you want to cover?
Well, currently I'm so happy that what we have discussed so far. And then if there's any other question, please let me know anytime. I'm going to reply to you. And then well, if there's needed if you need more research about the current stock, I will definitely find more local insights about that.
Thank you. We'll definitely ask you for that and share with our followers and our investor in Thailand. Then maybe I can wrap the session question with the KOSPI target then that everyone's waiting. So right now testing about 8,000, and you said more upside. There's more leverage. ETF coming out, single stock. People are hyped, and the AI train definitely has a lot more room or upside. Many other sectors that money is still flowing into. So what's your target for KOSPI then for year end or going forward?
Well, for the target about the KOSPI, I expect that's going up because for if the leveraged ETFs about the SK Hynix or Samsung 2X, I guess but personally, I expect a more inflow volume to the stocks so it can inflate the KOSPI even more. So that's what I expect about the KOSPI. But at the same time, if they started to deal with these leveraged ETFs as a tool for liquidity providing, then you should prepare for a lot of volatility. So, well, I can say that maybe it can touch like more than 8,000 easily, or maybe 8,008 to 9,200, which is like more than 27% increase, or a about 52% increase, very possible. But the real problem is if you can sell at that point. Mm-hmm. So it's about, and then another point is how volatile it would be to go there.
Okay.
Uh-huh. So I think these two questions that you should remind before going for the KOSPI market target.
Okay, so summary I take from today is that the investing world is changing. It's not about institutional. Now the retail investor coming in with all these tools. No, they know options, they know leverage. They use these tools. So volatility is a sure thing. So if you're entering the market now, like don't just use buy and hold strategy. Then it seems like you need to do you take profit, have some dry powder, get ready for a dip and things like that, right? This is now a new playbook for new days investor, especially in Korean market, which is full of AI and leverage, stocks. Is that accurate by my summary?
Yeah. So well. So if you want to know more about the other sectors or the other thematic, definitely I can introduce more about that. So just let me know if you need more research or information about the Korean market. I'm happy to share the information for the market transparency for Thailand investors. And I think this is the investors' rights that we should know about that, how the other market goes, even though there's a language barrier. If there's any speaker for helping that, I'd be happy to do so.
Thank you, Bora. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and knowledge today. And I have to say that thank you, Leverage Shares, as well, for all these products that are coming out, because like you said, I think your products is helping the retail investor in this market to have more tools, to have more things to explore as well, to win in this market. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Hope to host you again, Bora. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Everyone, that is Bora Kim, head of Asia from Leverage Shares, that came and shared her thoughts with us today. I hope you enjoyed the episode นะครับวันนี้คุยกับนักลงทุนต่างชาตินะครับใครชอบหรือไม่ชอบยังไงก็ลองคอมเมนต์เข้ามาได้นะครับแล้วก็วันนี้ผมนะครับคริสเทเลเคพีขอบดีใจมากนะครับที่ได้เป็นโฮสต์วันนี้แล้วก็ลืมฝากกดไลค์กดแชร์สำหรับวันนี้นะครับขออนุญาตลาตรีสวัสดีไปก่อนนะครับสวัสดีครับ